to round 9 of Grand Prix Atlanta. We have Ralph Ciarlanti versus Trevor Coulombe. A very, very classic matchup in this format of like Ramunap Red, pretty traditional one, versus Temur Energy. Both players are at 8-0, so this is really to kind of cement a really, really good start for tomorrow, making you lined up for top 8. Okay. Trevor plays a Rootbank Crag. Soulscar Mage for Ralph. Okay, let's see if Trevor has no Cub or no Servant. So
yeah, it looks like he drew an 2 in that turn, though, so we can expect him to have a removal spell here for whatever Ralph's 2-drop is. He may just want to take the 1 damage here and see if he can get a better target for the Harness Lightning or whatever it is that he happens to have in his hand.
Okay.
So it turns out to be an Abrade, and he's able to use that Abrade to deal with the Soulscar Mage on the end step. Ralph not further advancing his board state, instead choosing to leave open mana of his own. Now, what's nice about leaving open the mana for a card like Abrade or Lightning Strike for Ralph here is that on Trevor's turn, if he had played a card like Whirler Virtuoso, Ralph could have played his removal spell with the energy trigger on the stack and prevented Trevor from even having the opportunity to make a Thopter token.
Right. So now Trevor is using a Tune with Aether, which he couldn't do really the last turn, as well as still cast that removal spell. Ralph going to his 3rd turn.
Yeah, lots of removal spells in Ralph's hand from the looks of things.
And that generally, does that favor like this matchup? Do you want more removal spells? Because there's a lot of creatures in Temur Energy.
See, it would seem like that's a good thing. The problem is that Bristling Hydra ends up blanking almost all of those removal spells in your hand, causing a big problem. And if you're not applying early pressure, the Temur Energy deck certainly has inevitability in the longer game. You know, if we're seeing a version of Red more like Ben Stark's deck, then having a pile of removal spells in your hand would probably be pretty good in a matchup like this. But because of Ralph's top end and the way his deck is set up, that's just not where he wants to be. He was hoping to have Trevor down to, 12 or less life by this stage of the game.
So Trevor has stumbled on his mana. He hasn't played a 4th land. And that's pretty important because he actually has a Chandra in hand that he couldn't deploy. He still hasn't drawn a land there. And Ralph took full advantage of that turn, casting a Harsh Mentor and a Kenra.
Yeah, so the thing is that because it was Earthshaker, Kenra, and Harsh Mentor, that causes some serious problems for Trevor here, because Trevor, Whirler Virtuoso is that card that's supposed to get you back into the game against these red decks when you have a bunch of energy. And with that Harsh Mentor on the other side of the table, you get punished pretty hard for making those tokens. The good thing for Trevor is that in the early game, he took very little damage.
Right.
So right now, he's able to kind of punish Ralph a little bit by, making those Thopter tokens and not really caring so much about the life lost.
So Ralph plays an Uncop Crasher and uses the Exert trigger to make sure the Whirler Virtuoso can't block.
And I imagine we're going to see Trevor make at least 1 token here, take 2 damage, and then trade off with that Kenra.
Yeah, that seems right, because it's basically 2 damage or 2 damage, and so he may as well try and advance his board, get that into the graveyard, unless he's worried about the Eternalize.
Yeah, and the other option he has here is to make 2 Thopter tokens, take 4, which would end up making him take 9 this turn, which is, putting him down to 8. But when he does that, he can block the Harsh Mentor, and then he doesn't have to worry about taking damage from activating a card like Whirler Virtuoso in the future. And on the following turn, he doesn't even really need to worry about Uncrop Crasher.
Right. Okay, so actually chooses not to use any of the abilities, kind of respects the Harsh Mentor. Oh, and, still got rid of the creature with a Lightning Strike to Whirler Virtuoso.
Yeah, and beautifully played by Ralph. A lot of people might have been, encouraged to do that differently. But the thing is here, he really tried to push as hard as he possibly could to put Trevor in a situation where, he was going to activate that Whirler Virtuoso and take damage off that Harsh Mentor. Yeah. Ralph might be a little bit frustrated now that he has the exerted Uncrop Crasher where he might not have otherwise, but...
Yeah, no, so one of the things is he basically made it look like the Virtuoso is going to last to the next turn. So he Trevor was probably blocking or not blocking with the idea that maybe he could kill the Harsh Mentor on his own turn and then start making poppers.
But instead there, Trevor down to 8.
He did draw his 4th land. I think he has the option of playing Chandra, Torture Defiance, and he uses one of the good things for Trevor is that Harsh Mentor doesn't actually punish the use of Planeswalkers.
Yeah, that is unfortunate for the red deck. Team Red.
So Trevor kept back the Thopter. It can obviously block the Earthshaker Kenra. He'll snap blocks it. So Chandra might be able to survive the turn. Oh, no. Ralph actually has a Ramunap Ruins, and he redirects that damage to Chandra. Now, Ralph seems to be almost out of resources. Do you think that Trevor is at a reasonable position considering he's only at 8, or do you think that he needed to be a little bit higher in life?
I think that Trevor's in a great spot now in this game. I honestly think that Ralph probably would have been better served using his removal spell on that Whirler Virtuoso a little more aggressively. Mm-hmm. It would have allowed his on-card Crasher to not have been exerted on that last turn, which could have made a pretty big difference here. And now, if Ralph draws a land, he has the Eternalize here, so he can, embalm this and create this, 4/4 token. But, that Bristling Hydra on the other side of the table, it's pretty hard to imagine a world where, Ralph is able to end the game, at least in the immediate future. I mean, he could always chain a couple burn spells. That's the dangerous part about playing against this red deck.
Right. So Trevor activated the Bristling Hydra to make it hexproof, so basically countering the ability from the Kenra. Now he's basically deciding if he wants to attack with either creature. Do you think he should attack with both, trying to push the final damage through?
Yeah, by attacking with both, you're basically saying, okay, I am going to, sacrifice this 4/4 to deal you 3 damage. And I don't think you necessarily want to be doing that until you know for sure that you're going to be able to finish the game off, because it allows Trevor to start getting aggressive if he wants to. And that's just really not where you want to be. And the fact is, now Trevor can kind of just leave open mana for this Harness Lightning that's in his hand, right. And it's really hard to imagine a world where he loses this game 1.
It seems like it probably is the last turn Ralph can really, try and wrest back control of the match. Probably looking for a Hazoret.
Yeah, and he could also just be looking to, go runner on a couple burn spells.
Trevor casts Harness Lightning on the On-Crop Crusher.
Yeah, and with no On-Crop Crusher to force through damage with any sort of creatures, those creatures for Ralph kind of become dead draws here.
Yep, Trevor casting Glorybringer, which has a exertability that's perfectly sized for that Kenra. Glorybringer exerts, kills the Eternalized Kenra. Trevor keeps back the Bristling Hydra. Do you think that's too conservative, or do you think he should be pressing his advantage?
I think that he should absolutely be leaving this Bristling Hydra back in the haste creatures in Ralph's deck. You just don't want to give yourself an opportunity to lose the game. Right now, you basically have it locked up. So instead of thinking about how to win the game as fast as possible, you just need to think about the ways in which you could possibly lose the game. And he's doing a really good job of that.
Yeah.
Next turn, he may just attack with Cub.
Right. That makes a lot of sense. I mean, he's likely to win the game eventually because he has all the resources on the table.
Yeah, his cards are just a lot more powerful, especially at this stage of the game. And Bristling Hydra is just really, really good against these red strategies. It matches up so well against cards like On-Crop Crasher, and that's one of the major reasons why we're seeing less On-Crop Crashers in these red decks.
So, Ralph drew one of his best draws here, Hazoret the Fervent. He's attacking because he only has 1 card in hand. Now, Trevor, if he doesn't want to take the 5, has to block with his Hydra, and because he only has 5 energy, he cannot make it survive.
Yeah, so this is interesting. Now, Trevor got punished here for putting a counter on that Long Tusk Cub on the previous turn.
Right.
And pretty badly punished for that. Suddenly, this could be a game. And, Trevor made that block because if Ralph's last card was Lightning Strike, he's going to lose the game. But, maybe that wasn't the right play even to block there. This one's gotten really close out of nowhere.
So Trevor plays a Rogue Refiner, drawing an extra card. I think he drew another Bristling Hydra, so he can't play it this turn, but he's going to play a Servant of the Conduit, which probably will be on blocking duty this turn.
Yeah, I imagine he's just going to attack with the Cub here. If I were him, I would attack with the Cub and use all of my energy to make it as large as possible.
Right, he has 6 energy. And so he could go 3 times. Could make it a 6/6. So he's basically trying to figure out if he pumps with all his energy, does it more or less make it lethal the turn after that?
Yeah, so if he pumps with all of his energy, then he's going to get an additional 4 counters in this Long Tusk Cub. It's going to become a 7/7. That'll put Ralph down to 6.
Right. It was actually 9 energy, not 6 energy, so I had the dice upside down. So, yep, it looks like Trevor's using all but 3. Nope. And yes, and he's going back up to 5. So he made the Cub a 6/6, doing 6 damage and taking him down to 7. More than likely giving him a lethal attack the next turn.
Yeah, actually, that's even better than using all of it. Using all but 2. Or all but 3.
Okay. Now he's got to choose whether he's going to attack with both, but there's pretty much nothing kills Cub as an instant in red.
Yeah.
So, but he's attacking with everybody. And looks like Ralph is just doing a last-ditch effort to do 4 damage to get him down to 4, but that's not quite enough. Trevor wins game 1. With Temur Energy versus Ramunap Red, how important is the play versus the draw here?
It's massively important. The thing is, I think Ramunap Red on the play in game 1 is a pretty big favorite. On the play, or on the draw in game 1 is a slight dog. Post board, I think that Temur Energy is way ahead on the play and about even on the draw. So
the amazing Corey Baumeister in our live look-in is 8-0 with Temur Energy playing against a mirror match against Marlon Garcia.
And this one does not look great for Corey, even with him having Marlon down to 3.
Yeah, it looks like he would want a card like Confiscation Coup, basically, to try and get back to this. But I'm sure he would have cast it if he had it.
And he's playing a couple Confiscation Coups on the main. It would have been a nice one. But Marlon's in an interesting situation here, too. I mean, both of these Glowbringers are untapped, and if Corey sent with everybody, Marlon would fall to 1 here. Not a place you necessarily want to be.
Though if he did, Marlon could attack back, exert both his Glowbringers.
And leave Corey with an empty board, yeah.
Right. Marlon's holding on to dear life. He drew a Servant of the Conduit, has another forest in his hand, so can slightly build out his board.
Yeah, and Corey drew absolutely nothing on his turn, too, so it's an opportunity for Marlon to get back into the game.
Do you think Marlon should attack and exert to try and get rid of that Rogue Refiner?
I do. I think he now has he may actually want to get rid of a Thopter. The thing is about the Rogue Refiner is that you can trade the Servant for it.
Makes a lot of sense. Oh, wow.
Like if he attacks here and exerts both, killing 2 Thopters with both, that actually might be, yeah.
Yeah, and Marlon agrees with your evaluation. Playing that Servant, perfectly powered to block that Rogue Refiner who has 2 toughness.
Yeah, looks like Corey drew a Mountain.
Well, Corey possibly used all his good luck the last round, but like having that final turn when he drew Rogue Refiner and a Whirl of Virtuoso in really tight situation. Okay. Looks like Marlon drew a Essence Scatter.
Yeah, and I think that all but locks it up. Well, that's not necessarily true. I guess Confiscation Coup, especially if this Glorybringer does not come into the red zone, then Confiscation Coup gets really, really, really scary. Looks like Corey hasn't drawn one yet. He's got
It seems like with Confiscation Coup, you might actually just want to attack, so it's tapped.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know that Marlon knows Confiscation Coup is, lurking in Corey's remaining 44 cards. But, I mean, there's a 1 in 22 chance he draws it next turn. He's got 2 of them in the main.
Oh, interesting. He's attacking with the Servant as well. He's basically
aggressive.
All right. He's setting it up so if Corey doesn't do anything, he actually, he can't really attack because there's 6 damage on the way back. Okay, Corey puts Marlon to 1. What did he draw? Oh. So I wonder if Corey drew a removal spell or he's just playing a little bit of possum here. But Marlon, that's what you do. Draws another dragon. So even if there's a removal spell, he's not going to recover with just one removal spell. So
it looked like Corey did have an Abrade in hand there, though. So Corey kind of set up Marlon to, go for that lethal attack and get the win. But Marlon drew the 3rd Glory Bringer, and that was all she wrote.
Okay, we're back to our main feature match, and so it's Ralph versus Trevor. Trevor starts with a very optimal Attuned Aether, and so does Ralph, actually, with Baumeister Courier. Basically the best turn 1 plays for both decks, right?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Something that's nice about Baumeister Courier, too, is if your opponent's hand doesn't have removal and yours does have a good amount of removal, then it refills so well.
Kari Zev, Baumeister Courier attacks and gets another little card in its treasure chest. Looks like Trevor has some removal, so he's probably sitting back trying to make sure that, if Arn Crusher comes in or something like that, he's able to kill that.
Mm-hmm.
But McCray is still bringing in the mail.
Yeah, ticking away, filling itself up with glorious, glorious cards.
That's something that Mono Red traditionally hasn't really had access to, is really repeatable form of card advantage. And Baumeister Courier just has a chance of really turning around games.
Absolutely. I mean, there's so many games where you'll see people forced to, use removal spells on a tapped out red opponent on their Baumeister Courier, their 1-drop that's already dealt a few damage. And when they're spending, 2 mana to deal with a Baumeister Courier that's already dealt them 3 damage, it feels real good. It feels real good.
So Trevor follows up with a Will of Virtuoso. He has enough energy to make only 1 Thopter. And he'll take a damage probably for doing it because of the Rampaging Ferocity.
Yeah, Rampaging Ferocity, because it has the Menace ability, it's a card that you can send into the red zone pretty confidently, especially when you have burn spells in your hand to back it up.
If Ralph just attacks with the Ferocidon, let's say he doesn't do anything, do you make a Thopter and double block? Is that worth the risk?
I don't know. I don't think I do. I think I just block a Baumeister Courier with a Whirler Virtuoso.
Right, yeah. So it looks like Trevor agrees, just blocking that.
I like it, Trevor. I'm on board.
So he plays the Abrade after the block. What do you think he waited for that?
Well, I think that if he had abraded pre-combat, then Trevor would have just made a Thopter with the Whirler Virtuoso and use that Thopter to block the Baumeister Courier, and Ralph doesn't want to use a card to deal with just a single Thopter.
Yeah, so that's actually a pretty smart play because it basically allowed him to attack with the Baumeister Courier for free. Trevor plays a Bristling Hydra, taking 1 damage from the Ferocidon.
Yeah, and Bristling Hydra does not match up great against Rampaging Ferocidon. That's the 1 card in the red deck that matches up really nicely against this Hydra because of the Menace ability.
Right. Ferocidon just has all these matchups that there's a little edge everywhere. It's good against Will of Virtuoso. It's good against tokens. It's good against life gain. It's just so many. It's everything in one package.
Card's so sweet. It really is. It's just an unbelievably powerful card that I think that on the surface looks pretty good. People are like, oh, it's a sideboard card, so your opponent can't gain life. And then you play with it, and you're like, oh, this thing kills you real fast.
Yeah, I mean, one of the best ways that Ramunap Red loses games is lifelink.
Yeah.
And basically the Ferocity turns that off completely. Okay, so Ralph looks like he's dumping his hand, probably so he can attack. Oh, I thought he might attack with his Baumeister Courier, but
so his last card in his hand seems to be somewhat important.
Yes, it's probably not a land, so it may be
Hazaret the Fervent.
I think so.
That's what my senses are telling me.
Yeah, I don't.
That also matches up pretty nicely against Hydra for what it's worth.
That's true.
Yeah, and not on this board. I mean, there's 9 energy, which does mean that the Hydra can get up to 6 toughness, which is the magic number when you're dealing with a Hazaret. But
so Trevor has a confiscation coup. I think he has another Will of Virtuoso and some and a magma spray. So I think he probably will do he's doing the coup on the Ferocity, which seems like it's reasonable, but he doesn't want to have the Ferocity on the table. And if Ralph actually has a Hazaret, he's going to wish he did not cast it, I think.
Unless he has another copy in hand. I also think that Trevor is definitely familiar with this matchup. The fact that he still has Confiscation Coup in his deck in Game 2. I think it was pretty common for people to be taking that card out post-board in this matchup until recently. And I think the new iterations of Red make it pretty clear for most people that...
Yep. It wasn't a Hazaret, it was a Glorybringer on Ralph's side, so that was probably his last card. He probably drew a land so he could cast it. Now he can attack with Glorybringer, probably exert it to kill the Ferocity. I think he's trying to figure out if he actually has lethal here. No, I don't think he does.
He doesn't have lethal, but the thing is he puts Trevor down to a really, really low life total here.
Oh, I think he's not.
And he doesn't exert.
Yes.
So by doing this, then I'm not sure what Trevor's life total becomes. So he's going to block. The most he can block is 2 power, in which case he's taking 7 and going to 2. He wants to block 1 power, which would put him to 1. But if he blocks 1 power and gets put to 1, then he cannot play creatures until he kills his own Rampaging Ferocity.
That's actually really smart. I think Ralph kind of figured out exactly what life Trevor would be at the end of this attack. Yeah. And if he blocks a Ragavan, he's making no inroads into cleaning up the board. So he's happy either way, blocking a 1 or a 2. If he blocks a 1, he's on 1 life and basically can't play another creature until Ferocity dead.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I think Trevor's going to 1.
Yeah.
Ralph loses all the packages, but I think he's pretty happy with where the game is right now.
Yeah, I'm sure he's thrilled with an opponent at 1 with a Rampaging Ferocity in play.
Yeah, I don't know if there's anything that... let's see. Okay.
Yeah. See what I can find. No, never mind.
Right.
There's no May on that Rampaging Ferocity. It's a cruel, cruel dinosaur. And, the thing about, raptors is that they're always vicious.
Oh, yeah.
But the thing about Rampaging Ferocity is that they seem to take some sort of glee in the pain of their prey.
Yeah, they're clever girls.
They're very clever. I have a daughter who's about to be 2 years old, and she's a lot like a velociraptor.
Oh, really?
She's constantly learning. And
she opening doors?
Well, you have this scary situation where sitting in the bathroom one day, and then all of a sudden the doorknob starts to turn from the inside. It's honestly just like that scene. It's terrifying.
It's pretty much the most prominent dinosaur that's getting played out of Ixalan.
Oh, yeah. And I mean, it deservedly so. The card is very, very strong.
Okay, we're going to see a live look in. Marlon is just played his Rogue Refiner. nothing's really happened yet. So that was the first play of the game.
And does it look like Corey has missed his third land drop?
Yeah, he would be on the play because he lost game 1. And so this could be really, really tough. I think he's trying to figure out if he wants to cast a Harness Lightning on the Rogue Refiner. It always feels a little rough to do that because they already drew a card. You're kind of like almost 0 for 1-ing. Yeah. Looks like Corey actually kept a 1 land with a a tune with a root-bound crag. Got an island, but hasn't drawn another land.
Yeah, I imagine he would have mulliganed already.
Right.
Because Corey doesn't keep 2 land hands or 1 land to tune hands on the play with Temur. He's Corey. Come on.
So wow. So actually, Chandra's defeats Chandra. Defeats Chandra, and actually, it's pretty rare, but you actually get a free. Was it rummage?
Yeah, which is
really important.
Really, really good for him.
Oh, but he still hasn't drawn a land.
Yeah.
But Marlon's just free to cast a bunch of stuff. I think he's tapping 3 mana, putting a Will of Virtuoso. So Corey's still not out of it because there's not too much pressure. Oh. Drawing that Root-bound Crag is just a dagger into Corey's heart because...
Yeah. It's the... Yeah, that's got to be quite frustrating.
Yep.
And you find the only land left in your deck that comes into play tapped on that specific turn.
So Marlon pushes his advantage with the Glorybringer, and Corey does not have any removal spells that are relevant.
Yeah, it falls down to 10 here.
Yeah, I would say it's really, really hard for him to come back, and still didn't draw a land.
Impossible.
Yeah, I don't think there's anything that Corey can do right now.
I mean, he could buy himself a turn or so, but I don't know what that's going to do for him. Like, he could probably play a Whirler Virtuoso or something he'd like, but...
I think that's his... I guess he could draw... If he had another Chandra's Defeat, he could play a Rogue Refiner, draw a card, get a Mountain, or something else like that.
Yeah.
Yep. Will of Virtuoso.
A strange sequence of games here for Corey, where the first game, he was 16 cards deep in his deck and had drawn 11 lands. This game, quite the opposite.
Yes, sometimes your luck is a little bit lacking, but I'm sure Marlon actually has really earned his likely 9-0. I won't call it too early, but you have to.
Can you call it now? Can you call it now? wait for it.
I think there's possible dragon in his future here.
Yeah, some more glory being brought.
You can see Corey's hands is like a little bit. He's like, please kill me. Yep, another dragon. It's like, okay.
Glory brought her.
And okay. No. So it looks like Corey is likely to lose this game, and so we want to go back to the main match. I don't think we need to see the final damage there. Trevor casts a Whirl of Virtuoso after, on turn 2, I think there was a Servant on the play, but it was lightning struck.
Surprised that Trevor didn't go ahead and make a token in response to that Rampage of Ferocidon.
Yeah.
Instead choosing to hold out a bit.
What would make you not make a token there?
Having played with the red deck all week, I would make the token there 100% of the time.
Right.
But I think that the reason being is that you want to be using your energy for other things, or you want to be, hiding the Thopter for some reason or another.
So Trevor got a swamp, actually. So he's actually 4-color energy, not Temur energy. Though I don't know what the black is for now. I mean, it's likely a lot of those decks
It's just Scarab God.
Okay, so he has a Scarab God.
Oh, no, there's one Vraska also. Yes.
So he has a way of going a little bit bigger. He got the Swamp, but left it in his hand. Okay. Ralph is at 4 land, but nothing on the board, which is usually not so great for Ramunap Red.
And Trevor, holding onto this energy, I think he recognizes how powerful a sizable long tusk cub and or bristling hydra can be against red, and he wants to have energy to use for that. Mm-hmm. But in the same sense, red can't do much about somebody filling up the board, and there's something to be said for just using all your energy as aggressively as possible when you're playing against these red decks.
So Trevor has a Magma Spray and a Chandra in his hand. I think he's choosing to play the Chandra. And if he does, what do you think? He's probably going to kill the Karizev, you think?
Yeah, I'd be happy to kill that Karizev. I think that, if your opponent's going to finish off the Chandra, it's likely going to cost them another card. So you're going to be using, 4 mana and 1 card to kill with, your opponent spending 4 mana worth of cards in 2 cards to deal with it. The other option he has here would be to play the Chandra and then use it to, just start going up and kind of like creating a lightning rod for Ralph.
I think he's actually trying to get him to block the Will of Virtuoso so he can play Chandra.
Real nice. Yeah.
And then get red mana and then uses back the Magma Spray to finish it off. So almost gets the best of both worlds there.
Yeah, and I mean, if Ralph had made that block, that would have been beautiful and would have been the absolute perfect play there for Trevor. But Ralph having not made that block, I think he's just going to play the Chandra and shoot this Karizev. It would surprise me a lot if he did anything else with it.
Yeah, because Karizev can basically cost you 3 loyalty anyway on the attack.
Yeah.
And Trevor agrees, doing 4 damage to Karizev. Ralph has the burn spell as Trevor kind of suspected.
And again, that's a good trade for Trevor. Both of them spent 4 mana on the previous turn, and Ralph used 2 cards, Trevor used 1 card. That's where you want to be.
Okay, another Karizev from Ralph. Trevor, okay, so he's still attacking.
See, so this is interesting because just last turn, you said to yourself, it's not a good block. And then this turn, you change your mind and decide to go for the block. And, sometimes when he was right last turn, not blocking, it was a good play. But, sometimes you need to trust your instincts the whole way through.
Well, his first instinct is to cast Glorybringer, and that's a good instinct.
That is a very good instinct.
He's not exerting it because I think he's winning the race. So, wow. Trevor like off the top.
Yeah, and that's why you sideboard in Confiscation Coos against the red deck.
That's a huge swing here. So unless Ralph has a real way of like getting rid of that Glorybringer, this race is not going to be in his favor. And
Glorybringer is so sweet.
It's really good. A Beaumont Courier and a Soulscar Mage. He's got Ralph getting 1 card off the Courier. It's going to be a little rough because Trevor has 6 in the air. And so next turn, unless Ralph can basically get rid of the Glorybringer, this game is going to be over and Trevor is going to be 9-0.
Yeah, so Ralph really needs to draw a Chandra, specifically a Chandra, on this next turn.
Yep. And even then, it's going to be rough.
Yeah, even then, he's still having quite a bit of trouble. So, I mean, he's going to get attacked to 3 and have the Chandra get killed on the following turn. And then there are any number of cards in Trevor's library that just end the game on the spot.
It's possible he attacks with the Beaumont Courier, then gets an extra card, maybe increasing his chances at Chandra.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's what he's doing. Attacking for 2 damage. Trevor going down to 13. Or
I guess even Lightning Strike would be good enough to keep him alive, because the Soul Scar Mage would make it shrink the Glorybringer.
that's true.
But he's passing the turn here and not looking for the Chandra underneath the Bomat Courier, which surprises me to some degree.
I wonder if he does actually have the burn spell.
Yeah.
I think Trevor might have drawn a... Does he have Blossoming Defense?
Oh, wow. That would be kind of a blowout here.
I wasn't sure if he had it actually in his... I don't think he has it. I must have misseen that card. So Ralph has a shock, which combined with the Soulscar Mage actually reduces the amount of damage from the Glorybringer. Oh wow, and he draws the Abrade as well. So survives the turn, goes down to 2, but still faces two lethal Thopters, so still needs at least 1 burn spell. I think he actually has a Hazoret in his hand, which is not going to be good enough.
No. It's really close, but not quite there.
Yeah, no, I think if he had like a shock for his last card instead of... Oh, no, it's actually not a card reserve. It's a Lightning Strike, which actually gives him an extra turn. So putting Trevor down to 11. Oh, Cartouche.
Yeah.
Cartouche of Ambition doing the final extra power.
When you're looking for reach, Cartouche of Ambition is exactly where you want to be. Let's be real.
So the winner of this... So winner of the undefeateds is Trevor Coulombe, and he moves to 9-0.
That's kind of... So Cartouche of Ambition is kind of a new addition to these energy strategies that we haven't seen that much of. And, that card existing in sideboards now is a 2 of, and a number of these different energy sideboards, I think is one of the major reasons why Ben Stark's version of Red that goes a little bit bigger and removes the 1 toughness creatures from the deck has been so successful. I mean, there's just all these cards that punish 1 toughness, and that's why Red's been in a bad spot.
So that game marks the end of the round. So we'll be back with you in a second.